Kaleidoscope, a weekly public affairs program brought to you in partnership with the Urban League of Greater Cleveland, Kaleidoscope Magazine, and News Channel 5.
Good morning, everyone. What a broadcast I have for you. Something special today. Dr. Peter Rogers was a medical student at the University of Tennessee in Memphis when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in 1968. Dr. Rogers will share his experience and explain how the civil rights movement and Dr. King's assassination affected his life. Later on, we'll hear from the artistic director of the Singing Angels, Charles Eversole, and the former singing angel himself and now actor Elijah Rock. Later in the broadcast, Chris Kippis of the Cuyahoga County Board of Health will explain why it's important to get your flu shots. And more we'll talk about as well. Good morning, I'm Leon Bibb. This is Kaleidoscope. And so we begin with Dr. Peter Rogers, medical doctor who lives in Columbus right now. Good to have you with us.
Thanks, Leon.
You were there in Memphis in 1968, April, when Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated. Tell me what you saw.
Well, I was living at a medical fraternity house when I was in medical school, and we were having a meeting that night, and the word came down that Martin Luther King had been shot and that he was dead. And my fraternity brothers started partying. They were very happy that Dr. King was dead. And so that was I was ashamed of them. So I had to leave the fraternity house, and I went to try to find some other friends, and that's when I came across Dr. King's body.
Right now we're looking at video from Akron, Ohio. This is when Dr. King was assassinated, and this is kind of a remembrance of him. This was news footage from 1968 as there was a memorial celebration in honor and memory of Dr. Martin Luther King. That's from 1968. You've written a book about this because you saw Dr. King's body when it was wheeled into the hospital there. Tell me about that.
Well, I was going to be cutting through the hospital, and I noticed that a body was being wheeled into the hospital, and there were policemen guarding this body, and they came towards me, and I asked the policeman, "Is that Dr. King?" And he said, "Yes." And he said, "Who are you?" And I said, "I'm just a mourner." And he said, "Well, go mourn somewhere else, boy." And apparently I didn't move fast enough, because I remember he put his hand on his gun, and I still didn't move.
And you were a young medical student.
I was 25 years old.
Down there in Memphis at that time. You've written a book, With Malice Toward None, about your experiences. And why did you decide to write the book, With Malice Toward None, about the assassination of Martin Luther King and what you saw with Dr. King's body?
I first started, I wrote a short story about the night Dr. King was shot and killed in 1985, and I realized that when I did that article that I had to write a book about it. It wasn't enough. So I've spent a lot of years not only researching the civil rights movement, but remembering that time and talking to people who were there and getting their reactions.
How did it affect your life, Peter Rogers, medical doctor?
I think that Dr. King is probably the greatest American to have lived in my lifetime. And so when his body was wheeled in front of me, that was something of a bittersweet honor. It affected me deeply, and I had been a sympathetic observer of the civil rights movement, but no more. I had to become involved.
Any regrets about what you did or did not do during that time period?
My regrets is that I didn't get involved in the civil rights movement sooner. And there was a lot of things going on that I think I should have done. I wish I had done, but at least I did something, and I'm really glad I got involved.
Take me to the moment you saw Dr. King's body wheeled into the hospital. You, 25 years old, medical student, you see all of this, the police surrounding that body. Dr. King is dead. His body is on that gurney or whatever. What did you think? Where were you? Where were you mentally then?
You know, it was a stunning moment. It was a shocking moment. You know, Martin Luther King is a hero, a national hero. And when his body was wheeled in front of me, I think I stopped breathing. And I couldn't say anything. And being a good Catholic at the time, I know when his body was wheeled past me, I made the sign of the cross. And you know, it's a moment that it was a sentinel event in my life, and I'll never forget it.
In our final minute or so in discussion with you, you're a medical doctor down in Columbus, Ohio right now. Has it affected the way you look at life and how you look at health concerns?
It has affected everything. You know, like I say, I think Dr. King was a national hero, and I think it's very important to be sympathetic and understanding of what your patients are going through. It has certainly changed the way I have lived my life.
Your book, With Malice Toward None, about what you experienced in 1968 is now in the National Civil Rights Museum. You can buy copies there, see copies of it, and buy copies. Where else can we find copies of it?
Right now, it's can only be purchased in online bookstores such as like Amazon.com,
Yeah.
BarnesandNoble.com.
Those kinds of places. You can go to Amazon.com, find more information about this book. You can and purchase this book, With Malice Toward None. Peter Rogers, written by Peter Rogers, medical doctor who was a young medical student. And by the way, he is the brother of Mike Rogers, who's a good friend of ours here at News Channel 5, a well-known publicity agent and works in public relations. And good to have you on the broadcast. And thank you for your remembrances. And it certainly has affected your life. I can see that in your in your eyes. And Dr. King affected many of us in many ways. Thank you so much, Dr. Rogers.
Thank you.
Good to have you on the broadcast. We're going to take a break. We're going to be right back in just a moment, and we're going to talk to the Cleveland Singing Angels director. By the way, the Angels have turned 50 years of age. Back in a moment. You're in touch with Kaleidoscope. I'm Leon Bibb. Glad to have you with us, too. The Singing Angels organization, headquartered right here in Cleveland, celebrates its 50th anniversary this year. Artistic director Charles Eversole is here to tell us about events to mark this occasion, and he's joined by former singing angel himself, Elijah Rock, who is now an actor currently starring in the production of Breath and Imagination at the Cleveland Playhouse, located at Playhouse Square. Good to have you both with us.
Thank you.
Let's begin with you, Charles. 50 years for the Singing Angels, huh?
Yep.
They've been around for that long.
1964.
All these young teenagers looking well for 50. as
They
we
don't look a day
jokingly
over
say.
40. Yeah, it's amazing.
And what are the ages of the Singing Angels?
We have kids in 3 courses from age 6 up to 18.
And you've gone all over the world singing.
Absolutely, 34 countries.
Yeah.
We're heading to Switzerland this summer.
Oh, yeah?
We're going to be at Geneva at the United Nations for a week. We're one of 7 choirs invited from around the world, the only U.S. choir for the Charter of the United Nations for a week-long festival.
And the Singing Angels have been vital to you and your predecessor.
Absolutely.
Who began
Bill
this?
Bain. Bill Bain founded the group in 1964.
We interviewed him over the years, as we interviewed you as well. You brought along with you Elijah Rock, who is a former member of the Singing Angels.
Yes, yes.
All grown up now.
Yes, apparently.
Yeah, grown up and doing some acting. And are you still singing too?
Of course. I'll be doing a lot of singing in Breath and Imagination, the story of Roland Hayes at the Cleveland Playhouse. And I'll be singing in 4 languages and singing the spirituals. And he was one of the first classical concert singer.
And that runs from February the 14th to March the 9th. And I'll put a phone number, give you a phone number, 216-241-6000. That's to the Cleveland Playhouse. You can get more information on everything that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about these 2 different things. You got to be impressed when one of your alum come back.
One of the things that we're trying to do for this 50th anniversary is to get in touch with as many of our alumni as possible. And when I found out that Elijah was back in town, I'm like, well, we have to hook up. We have to make this happen. So we're going to get a group to come see his show, but he's also going to come and do a workshop for the kids.
You're going to tell the kids how to get from where they are right now to perhaps where you are right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll share my journey with them.
Tell me about that. Tell me about how the Singing Angels affected your life, your professional life.
Well, you know, I was telling Charles earlier, you know, I was singing with the Cleveland Orchestra Children's Chorus and the Cleveland Opera Children's Chorus as a boy soprano, and my voice changed, and I didn't know what I was going to do next.
Yeah.
And I remember my mother calling me, and she was saying, you know, there's this group called the Singing Angels, and why don't you consider, you know, being a part of that group? So I auditioned, and I got in. And I got to tour with them to Poland and Spain, and I was a soloist with them. And it just really helped give me the confidence to go on and pursue it, you know.
What years were you singing with the Singing Angels? Roughly speaking.
Leon, you know,
Wow,
you're hurting me. You're
well,
hurting me.
listen, you're not as old as I am, believe me.
The timelines get hazy, don't they?
I don't know.
But it was a few years back.
It was
We'll leave it as a few years back.
Yeah.
I know how to play that game, too. People ask you, when you graduated from school? Well, it was just a few years.
That's all. That's it.
Yeah.
What are your goals for the Singing Angels now as you look at the 50th anniversary?
You know, one of our specific goals for the 50th anniversary is to hook up with our past in order to help improve and enhance our future. And so I know, you know, everyone I talk to, people here on set today, oh, I know so-and-so who was in the Singing Angels. Oh, I have a sister. Oh, I have a friend that I went to school with. We want to get them all to get in touch with us so we can have a big blowout this year for the 50th anniversary and then move forward from there.
And we can have Elijah Rock. He's going to talk about those kinds of things during his time here. Tell me a little bit about the play you're in, Breath and Imagination, at the Cleveland Playhouse, which runs February 14th to March the 9th.
Yes. Breath and Imagination, the story of Roland Hayes. Roland Hayes was the first classical concert singer of his race. Being a descendant of slaves. He was born in 1887, and he was pre-Paul Robeson, pre-Marian Anderson, and at his zenith in the mid-1920s, he was the highest paid classical concert singer in the world. A lot of people don't know about him.
And you're going to do a lot of, you're going to portray him?
I will be playing Roland Hayes.
And doing some of the singing as well?
Yes, I'll be singing.
Calling upon some of the lessons you learned as a singing angel?
Absolutely.
And all the stuff that came after.
Absolutely.
You didn't jump from one to the other. There's a whole lot of that you've done in between those years.
Yeah, and I'll be playing Roland from age 8 through his mid-40s. And I'll be singing in French, German, and Italian, and of course the Negro spiritual music.
And speaking of the spirituals, I'm really enamored with your name, Elijah Rock.
Elijah Rock.
What's the name of the song? Elijah Rock, shout, shout.
It is.
Elijah Rock, coming up, Lord.
Coming up, Lord. My birth name is Eric Myrick, so the Cleveland community knows me as Eric Myrick. But Elijah Rock came to me in a dream. As a homage to my ancestors, and I took it on as a stage name.
And you're available? You still looking for kids?
We want more kids. We want more future stars like Eric, Elijah, to come and join us.
I go both ways.
Well, you know, right? So we have auditions coming up again in September.
Yeah.
And we have a big concert that's going to be at Playhouse Square, our 50th anniversary concert.
Yeah.
I hope he's going to be back for it on May 18th at the Palace Theater.
So people can get in touch with you by contacting singingangels.org, singingangels.org, this Cleveland-based organization, or they can go to 216-432-5555. Very similar to Channel 5's number, by the way.
We get calls for you all the time.
We are one digit away. I won't even go there because they'll be calling us.
We get calls for them all the time.
432-5555 in the 216 area code. Well, good to have you with us, Charles. Always good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you,
too. And you too,
too,
Elijah.
Thank you.
Elijah Rock. Shout, shout. He's going to be doing something wonderful. Breath and Imagination, the Cleveland Playhouse, February 14th through the March the 9th. I'm going to come hear you sing. I want to hear you sing.
I want you to be there.
I'm going to take a break right now. We're going to talk about the importance of getting the flu shot. I've had mine. Have you gotten yours? You need to. Back in a moment. You're in touch with Kaleidoscope. Good to have you with us. Chris Kippis is Director of Epidemiology, Surveillance, and Informatics at the Cuyahoga County Board of Health. And he's here to talk about the mission of the Cuyahoga County Board of Health and also explain why it's important to get your flu shot each season. Good to have you with us, Chris.
Thank you, Leon. It's great to be here.
The Cuyahoga County Board of Health tries to keep all of us in this area of Ohio healthy if it can.
That's correct. We certainly try to prevent disease, promote good health habits, and take care of the community.
You've got something going called flu surveillance. What is flu surveillance?
Well, flu surveillance is really a fancy word to say we're monitoring or tracking disease.
How big a problem is the flu so far this year?
Well, this year we've had slightly over 500 hospitalizations due to flu, and unfortunately we've had 9 deaths.
Death can come as a result of influenza.
Absolutely, it certainly can. Last year there were approximately 21 deaths due to flu.
Well, who is most susceptible to the flu?
Well, that's a great question, and actually it varies by year. Traditionally, the flu affects the very young as well as the elderly. However, this year what we're finding is the strain that's circulating, H1N1, which many people have probably heard before, that was the pandemic strain from 2009 and 2010. And what we found back at that time is that younger individuals were actually being infected and coming down with the flu. And so this year, what we're finding is that the people who are 40 to 69 years of age make up about 57% of our hospitalizations.
Now that's a wide swath of people. That's a big number of people, 40 to 69.
That's correct. And if you think about those people, those are individuals who could be caring for children in their family. They're certainly part of the working force, and they may be even taking care of older family members.
So your advice about battling the flu begins with what?
Absolutely get your flu shot, get your vaccination. You can either get a shot or they have a nasal spray for a vaccination for some people. That's the primary defense against preventing the flu.
Well, I actually got my shot some weeks ago, and I got it in a pharmacy, in a well-known drugstore chain right here in Northeast Ohio. That vaccination that I got is the same that I would have gotten had I gone to my regular doctor's office?
That's correct. So we're very fortunate as a community to have many different options to receive our flu vaccinations each year.
You know why I got the shot? I will tell you. I have had the flu years ago, and I'm telling you, it felt like I was dying. And nobody, you know, feels good when you've got the flu. And I says, if I can ever avoid feeling like what I was feeling many years ago, I said, let me do what I got to do. And every year I take that flu shot. That's a little bit of testimony. You might want to keep that in mind. I have some people I know who contend that the flu shot will give you the flu. Myth or truth?
No, that's certainly not the case. People will sometimes feel a little achy or get a runny nose after they've had the flu shot. But trust me, if you've had the flu just as you described, you know it. It completely wipes you out. Yeah,
it wipes you out and lays you out. And we don't want to get laid out, including death. You mentioned that there's been several deaths here in Ohio. When is the flu season, Chris?
Actually, the flu season starts at the beginning of October and goes through May. And right now, what we've seen based on our information that we've been tracking is the peak occurred towards the end of December so far this flu season. But we're not out of the woods yet by any means. There's still widespread activity, and that's why it's a good idea for people to still get their flu shot now if they haven't already.
How does the H1N1 strain of flu differ from other strains of flu?
Well, the H1N1 strain really affects the younger age groups. You know, the traditional flu that we see impacts the very young as well as older individuals, but the middle age and the younger adults are the ones that seem to be most impacted by H1N1.
Do we see this a lot in children too? I mean, in real little children?
We can certainly see the influenza virus occurring in the young as well.
Can an infant get that shot? Can a toddler get that shot?
You can get a flu vaccination if you're 6 months and older. So the very, very young, they cannot receive the vaccination.
Things are going well over the Cuyahoga County Board of Health. You guys are busy over there, aren't you?
Very busy.
Yeah. What do you like about this job as Director of Epidemiology, Surveillance, and Informatics at the Cuyahoga County Board of Health?
Well, I like to work with numbers, and so certainly I get an opportunity to do that. It also gives me an opportunity to help others. We investigate a lot of foodborne outbreaks, for example, and work in emergency preparedness as well. And I just enjoy helping people.
Well, you've helped us a great deal today because we're trying to hold off the flu, ward off the flu if we can. And certainly your number one piece of advice is take that flu shot. That phone number to call, by the way, if you want more information, is 201-2000. That's in the 216 area code, 201-2000. More information from the Cleveland Board of Health, the Cuyahoga County Board of Health. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Leon.
Good to have you on the broadcast. Taking a break, I'll be right back. Marsha Maccabee of the Urban League offers some thoughts of her own. Back after this. The Morning Exchange means it is time for Marsha Maccabee with words of wisdom. Marsha.
Good morning, Leon. How are you?
Just fine, just fine.
Good, good. You know, we're in Black History Month, and I think that one of the things we want to encourage our viewers to do is in their family gatherings during this month to really involve the children in Black History Month celebration and conversations, and encourage children to do research and to present to the elders what they've learned, and to have elders share stories of our families and all the things that we've experienced over time, because our history is so rich, our tradition of storytelling and passing on information from generation to generation. And in this great technology age that we have, which is wonderful, we don't want to lose that.
Yeah. You know, when I was growing up, my folks did not wait for me to learn things in school like this.
Yes.
They made certain we talked about this at the breakfast table and lunch table and dinner
Absolutely,
table.
absolutely.
That's vital, isn't it?
It is. We have to create that culture. Have to create that culture. And really, we know that learning about Black history should not just be a one-month-long event. It should be always. So we encourage that.
And certainly that part of Black history that is in America, that's all part of American history.
Absolutely.
It's all American history.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. But within our culture, we want to make sure that we understand and that we keep that information flowing.
I think people of all cultures should know about their histories and where their ancestors came from and how their ancestors got to wherever.
Yep, because when we know where we've been, we know where we're going.
Isn't that the truth? I can't beat that with words of wisdom from this lady. Take care, everybody.
Kaleidoscope, a weekly public affairs program brought to you in partnership with the Urban League of Greater Cleveland, Kaleidoscope Magazine, and News Channel 5.